What is up, everybody? Today I'm gonna try something slightly different than what we normally do. It is dead middle summer, 95 degrees right now. Feels like 101 where I'm at, with little to no wind, which adds for a very long day on a kayak. But I want to try something slightly different than what we normally do. I have my freshwater crappie rigs and jigs and rods. It's a real light, ultralight tackle. I'm gonna try bouncing the bottom with some like little crappie jigs and see what we turn up. Figured something different, maybe we'll catch something different. So I packed all my crappie stuff. I think I'm gonna start with a brighter color. This is like literally my go-to crappie fishing. It's bubblegum pink with a chartreuse fleck tail, curly tail, and I packed some Croaker. We'll start with these. All right, so I got a 3.5 gram, I don't know what that equates to in ounces, but crappie jig. I could probably figure it out. I'll put the link in the description. And like a 2-inch grub. I'm gonna put some blue claw Croaker all over it, try and give it some type of scent. And we're gonna just jig this right here, see how, if anything is hanging around. Last time I used these rods was crappie fishing, so I see some fish underneath me. I don't know what, if I'm being honest with you, but there's life. The only bad thing about fishing something this light is it does take a little bit of time to get to the bottom. You kind of might have to slowly pedal, try and keep myself right where I want to be. Whoa, there's a fish. Gotta tighten that drag. That's cool. What is the first species? Oh, croaker. That's cool. Man, that's a perfect bait size croaker too. Didn't bring my live well with me today, but it's cool to catch these saltwater panfish on, you know, freshwater panfish setups. I'll be honest, man, I think croakers are such an undervalued fish. The small ones are perfect for bait, in my opinion. Tuna, stripers, a lot of, you know, different sought after fish eat them. And the big ones actually taste pretty good if you could get them, you know, big enough to get the fillets. I know people's biggest beef with them is their pin bones that are in the ribs. But if you get them big enough, those bones are not as bad. What I end up actually doing is making them into fish cakes. So if you cook the meat, usually you can pick those bones out prior to them. Oh, there we go. Oh, see, and it's the simple things in life, man. I haven't done this type of fishing in salt water in a long time, but I'll tell you what, it's still fun to catch something. So I'm thinking there's a lot of croakers here, because the more I look at my screen, the more marks I see. But there's definitely some predatory fish mixed in with them, because every once in a while you'll see like a decent mark. And like right now I'm sitting on a bunch, but I'm trying to cast. There's a fish. Oh, I dropped him. I'm trying to cast ahead, let the current swing it to my side, and then I'm just trying to kind of work along this little edge right here. And I know there's more than just croakers around. The big thing, I think there's more croakers than there are, you know, other species currently right here, and they're pretty aggressive. It is funny though, every time I pull back up where I initially start, I do find them sitting like that, right on that flat. Kind of wild. If I had an anchor, I could probably just sit on top of them and just jig them up like crappie. Next one that I get that's real small, I might throw in my little bait bucket that's in the back of my kayak. Maybe on the way back, drop it down, see if we can't find like a flounder or striper big enough to eat it. What's funny is there's people, man, that really don't like croakers. I guess they consider them a nuisance, but if you're fishing light tackle like this with soft plastics, you know, you're not burning through tackle. Like, you know, in theory, we should be able to keep this grub. Whoa, there's a fish. We should be able to keep this grub for a while. You know what I mean? Because they don't have teeth. They have like little grinders, but not enough to rip you know, one of these Mr. Crappie twister tails. And if they do, man, you know, I got a 50 pack for, I forget what, but they last you a pretty decent amount of time. I think I have packs of lures that are older than my daughter, which is kind of hard to believe. It just kind of shows you how durable they are. Ooh. Now, why I picked the twister tail first rather than like a baby shad or panfish assassin, I do like that it has that curly tail, and I do think that does help to an extent. Trigger a bite. There we go. Oh, I dropped them. You gotta wonder how small some of these fish are that I'm dropping on a jig of this size. Now, I'll be honest with you, a day like this, I probably would have been better off fishing under a bridge in some shade, just how hot it is. But I also wanted to try something different. You do the same things over and over again, it does get old. And even though we haven't gotten any bruisers or monsters yet, you know, it's still fun doing something different. I do think that blue claw scent is helping to an extent. Oop, there's a hit. There we go. There we go. Oh. Little. It's funny, on a crappie ultralight rod, everything feels like a monster. And that's not a big one by any means. That's like an 8-inch, 9-inch croaker. I won't even consider keeping them under like 14, 16 inches, around that range. Anything bigger than that, you can make a meal out of. But that one we just caught, that's like a great bait. There's just so many fish on the screen. And what's crazy, last year at the end of the summer, we had a good croaker run here, but when I went down to Delaware, man, I ran into some really nice sized ones at the end of the summer. Oh, I missed them. And I'm talking like thousands of them. There was a day that, you know, the smallest croaker I had was like 18 inches. They were hitting bottom sweeper jigs. That was, to me, was like incredible. This would be the day. Oh, there's a hit. This would be the day I should test out my side scan, see if I'm missing out on some fish, but I'm kind of at the will of the wind right now with the way I'm drifting. What's wild is I know that for a fact there's some flounder mixed in. I just think that the croakers are just that much more, I think they're that much more packed on the bottom and more aggressive. Like that, I didn't even have to do much other than make a cast. And see, this is the type of style I would fish if I was trying to catch those bait-sized croaker. This is the cheapest method. You know, some people fish bloodworms, clams, cut squid, but I've literally used one jig, one grub, and if there's nothing toothy around, you could pretty much go to town on these fish. I'm hoping that we find some bigger ones, because the other day I was out here catching bait. There were some bigger ones mixed in, but there was also as many small ones as we're getting mixed in as well. Oop, there's a hit. Alright, get you back out there. I will say, since I moved to the flat, it does make it slightly easier fishing, especially because of I'm not having to worry about my line dropping, you know, into double digits depth wise. Especially a light jig like this in the middle of a tide. There's a fish. We're gonna keep this one, throw him in my little bait bucket. That's like a perfect bait size one. Oh, let's keep you on the hook. I brought sand fleas with me. Probably won't use them if I don't have to. I brought them just in case. And if I don't open them, I fortunately won't have to I can throw them back in the freezer, you know what I mean? Yeah, I'm passing over a ton of fish. I think partially why I'm not catching every single fish, I think I may be drifting too fast, so I'm gonna try power drifting over my bait to try and vertically jig it, if that makes sense. I think I'll actually have more luck that way. Look at that. Oh, I dropped them. That was straight up and down, which I think might be the ticket, rather than me drifting at, you know, 1 knot. Because I don't think some of these fish are as aggressive. There we go. Oh, yeah, I think that might have been the ticket. I don't think they're as aggressive. Oh, that's a perfect bait size one right there. And look, that's the first one to rip the tail off. So we'll say, I'll have to review the footage, but how many we caught on one. But that's not that bad. All right, so I'm going for grub number 2. See, this will probably be the last grub I put on, because I want to try some other crappie baits. Maybe something different profile might be result in different fish. You never know. I highly doubt it, but with the amount of croakers around. But I'm honestly not mad catching some croakers, especially on light tackle. I think I'm just gonna try and stay vertical. I think that's the ticket. I think earlier when I was drifting, it was just a little too fast for their liking. I think they like it a little bit slower presentation. This might be a sea bass. Oh my. Talk about lunker, man. Look at this hoss.